order in the court. Welcome again to Grace Believers Bible Study. We had a misstart, and so we're having to start all over again. But anyway, what we were talking about is, can we actually determine what day that Jesus Christ was born out of the Scriptures? And yes, you can, within a day or two. I would just say within 2 days. And because you don't know if it was leap year or not, okay? So that's what I'm going to talk about. So we're going to find all these details. It's a lot of Scripture. I'm going to start off different today than I normally do with this service. I'm going to start off in Luke, so you might as well go on over there. You know, you're going to, if you've never saw it, anybody in here has never saw this presentation? Joshua, you never saw it, have you?
No, sir.
Anybody else? Myrna, have you seen it?
Yes.
Were you here last year at this time?
I think so, yes.
What if you saw it?
I remember.
Huh?
I remember.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The better question is how many of us can remember anything? So I'm looking forward.
Well, a year's a long time to remember the intricacies of this right here. It is for me, and I do it. I mean, I'm telling you, it is something else. Scott says, what are you going to do next week? And I said, well, I don't know. I think I know. Why don't you do this? No, I don't want to do that, Scott. Well, here we're doing it. Okay. Now, but why should we be concerned about the details of Christ's birth? That's a big deal. Because if you know, and right up front, he's not born on December the 25th. So if you know truths, and you've been shown those out of the Scriptures, that you can share your belief system with someone else and hopefully show them. It's not to go out and prove somebody just wrong just for just proving it wrong. It's to show something out of the Scriptures. And I feel like that's probably the least done in the world right now. People get up and they teach traditions. They don't teach what's out of the Scriptures. I was up at a birthday, well, not a birthday, but a Christmas party last night up at Danny Rowland's house. And they were 3 pastors, including myself there, and 1 Bible teacher. Well, the Bible teacher, he came to see our conference only just for a few minutes. That was when Danny, his cousin, was giving his testimony. That's the only reason he showed up. And when he was at the conference, he had this big red shirt, and it had this imprint on it that says, Assembly of God on it. So we know where he was at. Yeah. And last night, we were sitting at the table, a few of us, and Trish happened to be right here, and this preacher was over across here. Well, I knew him. He's a preacher up there in Atmore, and I've helped him out a lot, trying to show him the truth. And he's very, very receptive, and he's probably 70, 75, but he's very receptive to the truth. But the old boy that was sitting beside of me is the individual I was telling you about. And he said, the first time I got saved, I said, oh. The first time, I said, you don't get saved but once. Oh, that's really what I meant. Oh, no, it ain't. He didn't say this, but I know what he done walked the aisle a bunch of times and finally got saved. But anyway, there was another pastor there from Perdido, and he was if you know who Larry the Cable Guy is, he was an impersonator of Larry the Cable. I mean, he toured doing this, and he was absolutely excellent. But I don't know. We didn't get into any Scriptures. But what happened was, Trish told me on the way back, she said, how come you didn't start just going for them? You don't do that in that sitting. But now give her the opportunity. She was over here, and the pastor's wife was right side of her. So it gave her the opportunity to talk a little loud. So everybody at the church, everybody at the table could hear it, and she was really going at the pastor's wife. And of course, the pastor's wife, or the guy in Atmore, she's a minister too. But going by what Trish said, she actually knew truth because we've been working with her husband. But anyway, that's how the Christmas party went. But that's, you see, if you sit down and listen a few minutes to people, you'll find out they really don't even know the gospel. Because the guy that was at the conference, he was talking about, and he said, it's great to know that Scripture, John 3:16. Well, anyway, I was fixing to go for that one. But he got up and he didn't come back because he knew it. He knew something was going to happen. He didn't come back. And right before we left, he did come back. He wanted to talk about football. Okay. That's just the way it works. But see, what I'm saying is people teach things that's not truths. There's half-truths. Most cults, most religions, and we're not religious, of course, most religions they're going to teach half-truths. They're going to teach some scriptures out of the Bible that's really real. So you can, that's not good. That really is not good. Don't worry about it. It'll clean up. It's going to be fine. I can't believe that. Spilled half of my coffee. Yeah, that's like an alcoholic's tequila, you know.
It was Satan trying to stop you from talking.
You guys could get that egg dog or something.
Tell me about it.
Byron must have went with you.
Well, sometimes we have a pause in things. Well, anyway, that's good. We'll finish it up later.
Byron, that's what they make covers for.
I had a cover on it. See there, Dave?
Not a drippable one.
One of those things. If that's all that bad that happens today, I'll praise the Lord. But anyway, like I said, the most important thing that we can tell somebody, and we'll get this up front, the most important thing that I can tell anybody or you, and if you're saved in here, you do have a ministry. It's a ministry of reconciliation. Ricky does it all the time. He tells people how to be saved, don't you? Absolutely. And most of you do, but some of you don't. If you've got the opportunity, you don't take it. And so please take that opportunity. But what am I talking about? The most important thing that one human can tell another is that Christ died on Calvary's cross for all of your sins. Not part of them, not just up to the point that he was crucified, but every one of them until the day that you die. Then he was buried, and he was resurrected from the dead on the third day for your justification. That's how simple it is. And people out here, they want to add water baptism out of Acts 2:38 to what Paul said. And Paul's, what did he say in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 13? The Holy Spirit, for by one Spirit are we all baptized into the church, the one body. It's the spiritual, invisible church. I mean, how simple can it get when somebody shows you? You can read it, but if you're like I was, and I walked the aisle for Jesus under Acts 2:38, and when E.C. Moore started showing me this what Paul was saying, I just couldn't believe it. Because I was programmed all my life to believe Acts 2:38. Repent and be baptized for the remission of sins. What you got?
You said you walked the aisle for Jesus in Acts 2:38. Walking the aisle for Jesus is not in the Bible.
That's right. But I walked the aisle for Jesus. Why would I say that? Because that's what the preacher told me to do. Come on down. Okay, and so I did. And most anybody that ever been in here that's gotten baptized in water, you walk the aisle for Jesus. But the walk the aisle for Jesus is nowhere in the scriptures, right? It's not. Traditions of men. And we're going to probably see what I was mentioning last week. If this same thing happens, we're going to quit.
Did you spill something else?
No, I'm talking about what I said. You know, the word Christianity that you hear all the time, which I brought up last week, is not in the Bible. I hear it all the time. You've heard it all your life. Christianity is not in the scriptures. Only one religion is called the Jews' religion. And what is that? That's Judaism. That's the only one in the scriptures. Ain't no Assembly of Gods, no Baptist, Methodist, Nazarenes, nothing like that in the scriptures, okay? All man's tradition. It's all philosophy. So, do you believe we live in a world of compromise? If you don't, you better look at Congress. Just look at Congress. Compromise. Confusion. We actually look, and it just gets me. I've got to tell you this too. This individual last night, you know, I've got a little cancer in my lung, okay? And I'm dealing with that. And so I met this Larry the Cable Guy last night. That's not his name, but that's who we're going to refer to him. And he was telling me, I didn't even tell him that I had that, and he told me that he had lung cancer. I said, wow, how'd you get rid of it? He said, I don't have it anymore. And I'm going to tell you this right here. It's called the Royal Rife. I think that's the name of it.
Machine.
Rife machine.
Frequencies.
Developed in the 1920s. And Big Pharma tried to get a hold of it. Anyway, he wound up taking an overdose of poison. Wonder what, right? So, in other words, confusion, that's what we have in this world. Compromise, money, filthy lucre, that's what it's all about. Let me get ahead of this next guy. I'll do it any way I can. If I have to steal or cheat or lie, that's what I'm going to do to get ahead. Well, they might get ahead in this world, but they're not getting ahead in God's eyes. Okay, what kind of an example is that? But that's the way our whole system is set up. I like capitalism, but that's just the way it's set up. Okay, and so we've got to study to show ourselves approved unto God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Now, whoever heard, some of you may have, whoever heard of that before you started getting into the Pauline epistles? Anybody? You did? I had never heard a clue. It took me 2 years to find out what that meant. Literally 2 years. And when I found out what rightly dividing the word of truth was, I trusted Christ as my Lord and Savior. Not before. Even though I already knew this gospel that EC would have been preaching, I didn't know what rightly dividing the word of truth was. So that's what we did. But we got to get and believe this now. The Christmas season definitely promotes a lie. It absolutely does. So why would we want to celebrate it? I celebrate it with gifts. I think you ought to be able to celebrate every day as Jesus' birthday if you want to know the truth. Hey, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I told you I ought to go over to Luke, but I think I'm going to start off back in John. So that's close where you can find it. Now, what we got to do is we got to look the scriptures up. We got to prove it to ourselves and then tell someone else about it. Let's go into John chapter 1, verse 6. John chapter 1, verse 6. And this is going to be a little bit different than I've ever done it before. Hopefully it'll work out. I'm going to be skipping and jumping and everything else. So y'all just bear with me. So we'll get it done. It's just how. After I remiss over spilling my coffee.
We'll pray for you.
Do that. John 1:6. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. We're talking about John the Baptist. The same came for a witness, to bear witness of the light being Jesus Christ, that all men through him, through Jesus Christ, might believe. At this time period right here, might believe what? That he was the Son of God. Believe on the name of Jesus. He was not that light, talking about John in the first chapter, the first verse, but was sent to bear witness of that light, Jesus Christ. That was the true light, which lighteth every man that cometh into the world. He was in the world, Jesus, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. Well, in Genesis 1:1 it said God. What did it say? God created the heaven and the earth.
Jesus was God.
And Jesus was God. I and my Father am one. Right, yeah. So, you could, I'll give you a reference, it's Colossians 1:16. You want to go up there and look it up. He is the head of the church, the body. Now, John 1:11. He came unto his own. What does that mean? He was a Jew. He came to the Jews. And his own, the Jews, received him not. But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God, even to them that believe on his name. Today, in the dispensation of the grace of God, we can't just believe on his name. It doesn't work. Which was born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. And the Word, that's Jesus Christ, was made flesh and dwelt. That's dwelt, we're going to see something later on in here. The dwelt means dwelt among us. He stayed with us. He tabernacled with us. And we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. I want to tell you this. Do you know when you have a child, let's take Ricky for example. He begot at least 2 children. He begot those. Paul begot someone by the gospel. Jesus Christ was begotten of God the Father one time. And then he was begotten again from the dead. He is the first fruit. So he was begotten 2 times. You got me? Now you may disagree, but that's not what it is. I just told you what the story was. Now, let's see. Let's go to Luke. Luke chapter 1. I better find it myself. I don't have it written down. This is going to set the basis a little bit because we've got to talk about courses. Courses. What is a course? Not a golf course. A course is the same as a lot. My man said it's a golf course, and he ain't even a golfer. Talk about a course. The course itself is of priest, is from the Levitical priesthood. For a week at a time, perform their duties in the priestly office in the temple. So what we're going to do, and I've already got some of them up here, we're going to find out about what Luke says about Abiah, and we're going to go here and see what Chronicles says and Exodus says, and we're going to show you just some of these courses. But these guys had to go in there, and they worked from Sabbath to Sabbath. They showed up no later than 6 p.m. on a Friday night. They worked 7 days, that was their duty, and they were relieved the next Friday night at 6 p.m. That is the Sabbath, okay? So no big problem, no big problem. Luke 5, let me get to it. I'm still searching for it. Start, Luke 1, I'm sorry, I gave you the wrong information. Luke 1, not lukewarm, but Luke 1. Verse 5. There were in the days of Herod the king of Judea. You know that name had been changed, Judea. Do you know what it was changed to? Palestine. Oh, think about it. There was in the days of Herod the king of Judea a certain priest named Zacharias. He's the guy that we're going to base all of this around. Of the course of Abiah. And that's what I just told you what a course was. There were courses these Levite priests had to be involved in. It was just their duty. And this is a big deal. That's why I wanted you to see it. And his wife was of the daughters of Aaron. And her name was Elizabeth. And they were both righteous before God. How were they both righteous before God? They kept the law. That's what it was. Walking in all the commandments and ordinances of the Lord. Blameless. Well, do you know someone else who did that? The Apostle Paul. And they had no child because that Elizabeth was barren, and they were both now well stricken in years. I'm going to have to cut this air on up here. I'm about to burn up. It's liable to get hot up here. Now that ain't even plugged up. Is that too loud for you?
No.
Oh.
You could share.
Yeah. Yeah, I got one under here and one on the back. Hey, I'm fine now. Now, back where I was at. And they had no child in verse 7 because that Elizabeth was barren, and they both were now well stricken in years. And it came to, can you imagine back then? If you were well stricken in years and they were that old back then with no medical stuff like we have today, modern science and so forth, I bet they were stricken. And it came to pass that while he Zacharias executed the priest office before God in the order of his course, very important. According to the custom of the priest office, his lot was to burn incense when he went into the temple of the Lord. That was just what he did, burn incense. I'll tell you later. There's 8,580 people that were priests at that time period that served for as priests in the temple during that year. And the whole multitude of the people were praying without at the time of incense. And there appeared unto him an angel of the Lord standing on the right side of the altar of incense. That would have shook me up. But back in that day, it didn't shake him up, you know. And when Zacharias saw him, angel, okay, all angels are males, he was troubled and fear fell upon him. But I got to state this right here. Okay. Fear fell upon him because the angel spoke to him, right? We're going to find out it was Gabriel. But it's just like last night when these guys was talking to me. Oh, on the way to the service, on the way to preach, the Lord spoke to me. That's what he said. Two of them said it. Spoke to me and give me my message on the way to the church. Oh, come on. Satan spoke to you. And when Zacharias saw him, verse 12, and when Zacharias saw him, he was troubled, and fear fell upon him. But the angel said unto him, Fear not, Zacharias, for thy prayer is heard, and thy wife Elizabeth shall bear thee a son, and thou shalt call his name John. So undoubtedly, Zacharias had been praying for a son, for a child. And thou shalt have joy and gladness, and many shall rejoice at his birth. For he shall be great in the sight of the Lord, and shall drink neither wine nor strong drink. And he shall be filled with the Holy Ghost, even from his mother's womb. Wow. And further on down, we're going to read when that leaped in her womb. And verse 16, and many of the children of Israel shall he turn to the Lord their God. And this is John the Baptist we're talking about, shall go before Jesus, in the spirit and power of Elias. That's Elijah back in the Hebrew, okay? To turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the disobedient to the children, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the just, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord. You know, it's just like when God had a talk and he put his covenants on Abram. That separated the world. Do you realize that at that point in time? Because Abram was a Hebrew, but then he wound up, he was a Gentile, I'm sorry. He wound up as a Hebrew. That separated the world into two classes, Gentiles and Jews. Ain't that something? Wow. Verse 18, and Zacharias, this is who we're talking about, in the courses of Zachariah, said unto the angel, Whereby shall I know this? For I am an old man, and my wife well stricken in years. See, he's talking to the angel. And the angel answering said unto him, I am Gabriel, that stand in the presence of God, and am sent to speak unto thee, and to show thee these glad tidings. I can see this right here. Him and his wife are stricken in age, and they're going to have a child. Who's going to take care of that child? Oh, goodness gracious. And behold, thou shalt be dumb, and not able to speak until the day that these things shall be performed, because thou believest not my words, which shall be fulfilled in their season. Well, see, he made him deaf and dumb, I guess, or dumb anyway, couldn't speak because of his unbelief.
He's arguing with the angel.
He's arguing with the angel of God. And the people waited for Zacharias, the people being there in the temple, and marveled that he stayed so long in the temple. And when he came out, he could not speak unto them. And they perceived that he had seen a vision in the temple. Well, they perceived right. For he beckoned unto them and remained speechless. And it came to pass that as soon as the days of his administration were accomplished, he departed to his own house. That's a big deal right here. When his administration was over, he departed to his own house. I believe that he was probably within a day's drive or walk or camel or whatever, donkey.
You could only walk so far on the Sabbath.
That's true. That's true. But the Sabbath was over. So, now, and after those days, his wife, Elizabeth, conceived and hid herself 5 months, saying, Thus hath the Lord dealt with me in the days wherein he looked on me to take away my reproach among men. And in the 6th month, very important, 6th month, remember, the angel Gabriel was sent from God into the city of Galilee named Nazareth, to a virgin espoused to a man. We're talking about the Virgin Mary here. To a virgin espoused to a man whose name was Joseph, of the house of David, and the virgin's name was Mary. And the angel came in unto her and said, Hail, thou that art highly favored, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women. And when she saw him, she was troubled at his saying, and cast in her mind what manner of salutation this should be. And the angel said unto her, Fear not, Mary, for thou hast found favor with God. And I'm going to stop right there. So what have we got out of this? We found out that Zechariah is of the 8th course. 8th course. Okay, we found out what a course is. And we found that he was dumb. We found a lot of things. And in the 6th month, the angel came. So we know that John the Baptist was 6 months older than Jesus Christ. Okay? No big problem. Now I've got to try to find myself where I'm at. Now, you just got to remember the big clue is the course of Abiah. Okay? Why don't you go, I want to tell you this. Go over to 1 Chronicles 28. As you go over there, I'll continue talking. Go over to 1 Chronicles 28. King David, on God's instructions, it's God's instructions, had divided the sons of Aaron into 24 groups. Big deal. 24 groups. To set up a schedule which would be used in the temple of the Lord. And it would staff this temple with priests all year round. Are y'all cold?
I'm just ready.
To set up a schedule in the temple of the Lord so it could be staffed year-round with priests in an orderly manner. So let's go over to 1 Chronicles 28. And we're going to follow that up in Exodus. You might as well go on over there. 1 Chronicles 28. And I'm going to be going to verse 11. Then David, 1 Chronicles 28, verse 11. Then David gave to Solomon, his son, King David, the pattern of the porch. He's talking about of the temple, and of the houses thereof, and of the treasuries thereof, and of the upper chambers thereof, and of the inner parlors thereof, and of the place of the mercy seat in the temple. Verse 13. Also, for the courses of the priest, that's what we're looking for, and the Levites, and for all the work of the service of the house of the Lord, and for all the vessels of service in the house of the Lord. So he's talking about courses here for the priest. We're still looking for the course of Abiah. Exodus chapter 6. You can hold on to Chronicles because we're going back there shortly. Exodus chapter 6. Exodus chapter 6. I want to start in verse 16. First, I want to tell you, the fathers is who? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, correct? Now, Jacob had a son named Levi. Aha. So we're at that point. Verse 16. And these are the names of the sons of Levi according to their generations. And he mentions them. Gershon, Kohath, and I can't pronounce his name, Merari. And the years of the life of Levi were in 100, and he tells how old he was. Then I want to drop down to verse 23. And you wonder why. I got to come back up and show you. We're talking about in verse 16, that man named Kohath. That was Levi's son, Kohath. I'm going to come on down here to verse 18. And the sons of Kohath. We got to follow the lineage of Kohath. And he mentions Amram. Okay, and the sons of Kohath. Amram. We're going to skip on down that we know who that is. In verse 20. And Amram took him Jochebed, or whatever that is, his father's sister. So he took his aunt and he married her. And she bare him Aaron and Moses. Oh, wow, that's close, ain't it? Now, come on down to verse 23. And Aaron took him, we're talking now, we've already got the Levites, Kohath, Amram, and then we come on down and we find that he was the daddy to Aaron and Moses. And in verse 23, and Aaron took him Elisheba, daughter of Amminadab, what is it? Amminadab, I guess. Amminadab. And it says the sister of whatever to wife, and she bare him Look, 4 sons. Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. That's what I wanted you to see. Aaron took him this wife, and she had 4 sons. It's all in the lineage of Levi, Kohath, Amram, Aaron. And now Aaron took this lady, and she had 4 children. Okay, got to take a look at it. Go to Exodus 28. 4 children. We will go to verse, see which one I want to go to. Let's start in verse 1. This is God talking to Moses. And take thou unto thee Aaron thy brother, and his sons with him, from among the children of Israel, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office. Even Aaron, and now here's his 4 sons again. Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar, Aaron's sons. Okay, so we've got that established. He's got 4 sons here now. So, let's go to Numbers chapter 3. We're trying to establish somebody. Numbers chapter 3. I want to start reading 3 first. Numbers 3:3. And we've already read it, but we've got to have it. These are the names of the sons of Aaron, the priests which were anointed, whom he consecrated to minister in the priest office. The priest office is in the temple. Verse 4. And Nadab and Abihu died. So that's another key. 2 of these brothers died of Aaron's sons before the Lord when they offered strange fire before the Lord in the wilderness of Sinai. They undoubtedly were worshiping gods, little g's. And they had no children, and Eleazar and Ithamar ministered in the priest office in the sight of Aaron their father. Eleazar and Ithamar, that is who now is representing Aaron. Okay? So, with that number, let's go to 1 Chronicles. I didn't have to show you that. I could have told you, but I want you to see actually where it's coming from, okay? 1 Chronicles 24. I want to start in verse 1. Now these are the divisions of the sons of Aaron that we just read about. The sons of Aaron: Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. But Nadab and Abihu died before their father and had no children. Therefore Eleazar and Ithamar executed the priest office. Just those 2. Now, and David distributed them both Zadok of the sons of Eleazar and Amalek of the sons of Ithamar according to their offices and their service. Now here's the good stuff. Coming on up. And there were more chief men of the sons of Eleazar than of the sons of Ithamar, and thus they were divided. Among the sons of Eleazar there were, listen to the number, 16 children, 16 chief men of the house of their fathers, and 8 among the sons of Ithamar. Now if you want to add both of those up, you're going to find out that's 24. That's the key, because there's 24 courses in a year, according to the house of their fathers. Now, we're going to go somewhere else here shortly. Let me read verse 5. Thus were they divided by lot. A lot and a course is the same thing, one sort with another. For the governors of the sanctuary and the governors of the house of God were of the sons of Eleazar and the sons of Ithamar. So, now we're going to probably skip something here. You need to notate this right here. I'm just going to go ahead and show you while I'm here, I guess. Now, so what we've got courses and lots. It's the same thing. There's 24 courses per year that these priests had to do to keep the temple open. Okay, so let's read verse 7 of the same chapter. Verse 7. Now the first lot, or the first course. Remember, Zacharias is the 8th course. That's what I want you to get. Now the first lot came forth to Jehoram, the second to Jedediah. And that's what I've got over here. The first, second, so we're up to Jedediah. The third to Haram, and I'm going to mispronounce all these words, but you can see it. The 5th to whatever his name is. Number 5, okay. And The 6th to Majamin. It ain't how you pronounce it, but that's just... You know, last year when I done this, I actually went up the night before and I found out all the pronunciations, and I tried to do my best with that. This time, I ain't going to do it. Now, the 7th, as you can see, I've got up here. The 7th is cause. But here's where we started. In verse 10, the 8th course or the 8th lot is to Abiah. And if you remember, Zacharias was the 8th course of Abiah. Now what I've done, I went ahead and showed 9 and 10. Okay, that's okay. I didn't have to, but I wanted to show you some stuff. So now we've got these things going for us. So now you got to remember, lots and courses are the same. I tell you what, let's go over to Numbers chapter 4. Hadn't planned on doing this, but we can. Talk about numbers of people. You know, Numbers chapter 4. I want to start in verse 46. You know, Jesus Christ started his ministry at the age of what? 30. You had to be 30 years of age to become a priest. And the same in this case right here. In verse 46. All those that were numbered of the Levites, whom Moses, in verse 46, whom Moses and Aaron and the chief of Israel numbered after their families and after the house of their fathers. Verse 47. From 30 years old and upward, even until 50 years old. When they got 50 years old, they retired. I mean, I'm surely they didn't live a whole long time after that. But they had to retire at 50. And everyone that came to do the service of the ministry, and the service of the burden and the tabernacle of the congregation. Now, we're going to continue to read a little bit. Verse 48. Even those that were numbered of them were, and I already told you this earlier, 8,504 score, 8,580. That's how many they were. That's a lot. Can you imagine to keep the temple running? You had that many priests? But they had a lot of things going on. You think this big old mega church down here where Jim used to go, they ain't got nothing like that. Not yet. Did I hear that? Now, so how many people every year, 3 times, and we're going to find out where it's at, 3 times a year, it's the yearly cycle, they had, all the males of the Jews had to go to the temple. It was just a mandatory thing. They had to go. Now, so I want to show you this right here. There was 3 festivals, and I'm jumping around, but what we want to do is establish these people right here. I've got the course of Abiah as number 8 in black here. Okay? I've got, if you want to read, well, I'm going to get to it. I'm not going to try to skip ahead this time. I'm not going to try to do it. I probably will, but let me see where I'm at. I don't like any of that. So let's talk about, and I'm lost. So that's okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. So here's what. In the first month of the year, what do we have? It's Abib and it's Nisan. Not Nisan, it's Nisan. Okay. Okay. Now, what we're going to be able to do, we're going to look it up in Scripture here so you can actually put your eyeballs on it, okay? Now, in Esther chapter 3, let's go there and take a look. Esther chapter 3. Yep, I heard that. Who said verse 7?
On the board.
I heard somebody whisper that, though.
Dave did.
I'm trying to look smart.
You're pretty sharp there, Dave.
Best thing to do.
Oh, my goodness. Let me see where we're at.
Everybody going to permits today.
Esther chapter 3, verse 7. In the first month, that is, the month of Nisan. So I've got Nisan on the board, and I've got the first month here. Now, we're going to look at another spot, and it's changed names, okay? Let's go to Exodus 13. Exodus 13. And I think what I'm going to do is read, starting in verse 3 this time. Exodus 13:3. And Moses said unto the people, remember this day in which you came out from Egypt, out of the house of bondage, for by strength of hand the Lord brought you out from this place. There shall no leavened bread be eaten. Okay. Verse 4. This day came ye out in the month of Abib. Let's go to Exodus 23. So, it's called Nisan and it's called Abib. Same, synonymous, okay? And I want to go to verse 14. Three times thou shalt keep a feast unto me in the year. That's what I was talking about. One is, if you've got it, I've got it listed. You've got the Feast of Unleavened Bread here. You've got Pentecost. And the other one we didn't list because it's further on down the courses. It's the 15th day of Tishri. It's in the 7th month of the Jewish calendar. So those three feasts, all the males had to attend. Okay. So continue reading. Thou shalt keep the Feast of Unleavened Bread. That's the first one. Remember, Passover on the 14th. Unleavened bread, the feast starts on the 15th. It's 7 days long. Thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I commanded thee in the time appointed of the month Abib. For in it thou comest out from Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty. And the feast of harvest, this is Pentecost. It's 50 days after the unleavened bread. The first fruits of thy labors, which thou hast sown in the field, and the feast of ingathering, which is in the end of the year, that's the Feast of Tabernacles. So those three feasts is very relevant, okay? That all the people there had to take care and be there at this temple. That's exactly what they had to do. Now, the first course of priests, let's take a look. The first course of priests would come in here. Week 1 of month 1. The second course would come in, Jedediah, I'm going to call it Jediah, okay, would come in the second week of the first month. Now, what happened in between the second course and the third course of normal with the black here is that Feast of Unleavened Bread. That means that everybody had to come in between the second and third course, which made this the third course, the unleavened bread third course, which moved Harim down here from 3rd to 4. This one right here, 4 to 5, 5 to 6. Now, the big deal is it moved them all 1. But the biggest deal is, remember, Zacharias was the 8th course. We've already had one of these where everybody had to come, all priests. So that moved Abiah from 8 to 9. Then we had the Feast of Pentecost. That moved again, starting here. That moved it down here and made the course that was 8. And this is what's so significant. I'm going to skip the rest of it. What's so significant, the course that started out is 8, went to 9, and then it went to 10. So the course of Abiah went to 10. That's, what is it? That's the first week of the 3rd month. I think that's right. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the second week of the 3rd month. It moved. It moved. So, do you see what I'm saying? Do you see the courses moved? I hope you do. I hope you do. Now, what else can I find to do here? By the way, I do want to mention this. Nobody was there, and so nobody did a census. But, you know, as they can go back and they can calculate based upon records and here and there, they assumed or made an assumption that there was 2 million people at that feast. That's a lot of people. They had to have all the priests to come in. That's a lot of people. You know, they lived a lot longer than what we're living. But, as we said before, these people served for 1 solid week. And like I say, all the priests came in 3 times a year, plus their own course. You know, and that's kind of strange, I guess. But that's just the way it worked. Now, so with that right there, we can start trying to calculate what went on. Okay? Something like that. So normally I would, and I'm going to first, we'll make another theory, hypothesis, that Christ was not born, but conceived on December the 25th. Now, Trish asked me yesterday or the day before, how come we can't use any other dates? And at the end of it, you'll find out we could have come up with January the 1st, June the 6th, but it won't fit Scripture. The only one that fits Scripture right now is him being conceived on the 25th of December, not born. So what do we do here? When was he born? If we say he was conceived on 25 December, gestation period of a man was what? 280 days, and it still is. And God is perfect, so I absolutely believe there was no premature birth. It had to be perfect. So what we do, we take December, and we count from the 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st. That's 7 days. So we put that after the conception. January's 31, February 29, March 31, April 30, May 31, June, July, August, and we come up with a total of 251, right? But we need 280. 280. So we are 29 days short. So guess what? He should be born, if he was conceived on the 25th of December, he should be born on the 29th of September of the following year. But, so now what we have to do? We have to find out something. I'm going to tell you what this is later. You already know probably, but I'm going to tell you what date that is. But let's look over here. John the Baptist, as we've already read, was what? He was 6 months older than Jesus Christ. So what we do, we take and back it up to find out when he was conceived. So if he was conceived on the 20th, Christ was the 25th, so we take the 24th through the December the 1st and back it up. That's 24 days. We back it up through November, October, September. Did I leave one out? No. August and July. And we come up with 177. Well, now here's what before I get back to that. 6 months prior, John was 6 months older than Jesus. We take the 280 days of gestation, we take 2/3 of that, and it's 186.66 days, and I rounded it off to 187. That's why, Gil, I said it could be off a day, because if it could be 186, it could be 187. But it's just what it is. And so that's 6 months. So that's the 6 months right here is 177, right? No, not really. Because look, he was there and he was working in his course, and it took him some time to get back. So what happens? We need 10 more days to make 187 equal to 2/3 to make it 6 months. Y'all follow me so far? If you're not, holler. Now, so what I did, I went ahead and put it on the board. We back it up again from the 30th of June to the 21st. That's 10 days, okay? That is 10 days. Now, so we're going to make the 21st. Well, let me take that off. The June the 21st is the conception right here. This is 10 days of this, which now adds to this, which is going to give us our 187, which is the 6 months prior. And I'm telling you right now, as close as I can get it, and the scriptures, I believe, can get it, is that John the Baptist was conceived on the 21st of June. Now, so we got that going for us, okay? But there's other calculations in here. Now, you can do it a different way, totally. Let me see if I want to do it. I thought I had it all up there, but I don't. Let me look. So what we got to do now is to calculate when John the Baptist was born. Right? Very significant day. Very significant day. And I guess I just overlooked it. Let me see if I can actually make heads or tails of this myself. Okay? Now, so I'm going to put it over here. So we've already got this 187 days, so we need 280 days. So what I'm going to do is I'll take 187, and then I'm going to calculate from December to through the month of December, okay? I'm going to put it over here. So the 25th of December through 31 December is what? 7 days. Then we take all of January, which is 31 days. We'll take February, and I use February the 29th, okay? Now, we come up right here with 67. Well, that's not quite enough. We'll add the 67 to this. 4, 1, 15, 254. Then, but still we don't have enough of when John the Baptist was born. So we take the 280 minus the 254, and we wind up, well, we need 26 more days. So with that case right there, we got March 26th. Forget this is, if you add the 26 that we need to this total right here of when he was born, it's going to be March the 26th. Now let's look over here. March the 26th is back over in the first month, okay? The March and April compared to the first month. So by my calculations, and I think by the scriptures, then John the Baptist was probably born on the 15th of the first month. That's our March, April. What is that? That's the first day of unleavened bread. But I tell you this right here, where Jesus Christ was born on the 29th of September. What day is that? That's the first day it's the 15th day of Tishri. What is that? That's the first day of the Feast of Tabernacles. He came and was born on the first day of Tabernacles. Down here, what's going to say? He's going to come back on the 15th day of Tabernacles and tabernacle with the people that's down here on this earth. You follow me? 2 feast days. And you can go ahead, and I did it, but I'm not going to do it this time. I can go ahead and back it up and find out. It's the 26th. You can find out when Christ was born and back it all up. You're going to get March the 26th. Okay, just like we just calculated over here for this right here when John the Baptist was born. So he was conceived, born over there. So it's the same identical thing. So with that knowledge, let me see where I want to go. I'm trying to simplify this time. Got that. Now, anybody don't see that? Richard, you see that? I didn't think you did. So let's talk about a couple of other things then. Now, go to Malachi, would you? Malachi, chapter 4, right before Matthew. Verse 5. Malachi. Come on now, Byron. Verse 5. Behold, I will send you Elijah, the Lord saying, the prophet before the coming great and dreadful day of the Lord. So Elijah is supposed to be coming. Well, let's go to Matthew chapter 17. Matthew chapter 17. We'll start in verse 10 when we get there. And his disciples, that's Christ, or Jesus, and his disciples asked him, saying, why then say the scribes that Elias, which is Elijah, must first come? And Jesus answered and said unto them, Elias truly shall first come and restore all things. But I say unto you that Elias is come already, and they knew him not, but have done unto him whatsoever they listed. Likewise shall also the Son of Man suffer of them. Then the disciples understood that he spake, Jesus did, unto them of John the Baptist. He came as John the Baptist, but is Elijah. Now, see where I want to go. Let's go to Luke again. You know there was 2 Bethlehems in the scriptures, right? Yeah. Well, this is Bethlehem Ephrata. Is that the way you pronounce it, Joe? Now, Luke, let me find it myself. We stopped at Luke 1. We want to continue reading. We stopped at verse 26. I'm going to back up a little bit. Might help if I get to the right scripture. Verse 26, and in the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent from God unto the city of Galilee named Nazareth, to a virgin, Mary, espoused to the man whose name was Joseph, of the house of David. And the virgin's name was Mary. And the angel came in unto her and said, Hail, Hail, thou that art highly favored, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women. And when she saw him, she was troubled at his saying, and cast in her mind what manner of salutation this should be. And the angel said unto her, Fear not, Mary, for thou hast found favor with God. You know, Gabriel was a messenger angel. He delivered messages. You can go back to Daniel chapter 8 and you can find that also. But we're not going to do that. And behold, verse 31, and behold, thou shalt conceive in thy womb, and bring forth a son, and shalt call his name Jesus. It's explicit. He shall be great, and shall be called the Son of the Highest. And the Lord God shall give unto him the throne of his father David. And he shall reign over the house of Jacob forever. And of his kingdom there shall be no end. Then said Mary unto the angel, How shall this be, seeing I know not a man? She'd never slept with a guy. And the angel answered and said unto her, The Holy Ghost shall come upon thee, and the power of the highest shall overshadow thee. Therefore also that holy thing which shall be born of thee shall be called the Son of God. And that scripture right there just baffles the world. How can Mary get pregnant? She never had sex with anybody. How could she? It's an immaculate conception. That's what it is. Verse 36, and behold, the cousin Elizabeth, she had also conceived a son in her old age. And this is the 6th month with her who was called barren. For with God nothing shall be impossible. Now, if you read these scriptures and you think anything is impossible, it's just like when I prayed about that rain to stop coming through this place right here, and it hadn't rained in here since. Okay? You might think that's impossible for him to stop a leak. Well, it stopped. Now, it might start back. But I do believe that there's miracles performed every day in this world by God himself. That doesn't mean you say you've got some kind of real serious disease and all of a sudden it goes into remission for 50 years. Then it comes back. That didn't mean God failed. He put it and he fixed it for that long time a period. Now, verse 37, for with God nothing shall be impossible. And Mary said, behold, the handmaid of the Lord. Be it unto me according to thy word. And the angel departed from her. And Mary rose in those days and went into the hill country with haste into a city of Judah, and entered into the house of Zacharias, and saluted Elizabeth. And it came to pass that when Elizabeth heard the salutation of Mary, the babe leaped. Remember, the Holy Spirit was in her womb. The babe leaped in her womb, and Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Ghost. And she spake out with a loud voice and said, blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb. And whence is this to me, that the mother of my Lord shall come to me? See, Mary was a sinner. Contrary to what the Catholics think, Mary was a sinner. She was in need of a Savior. So she conceived with God's child, which is her Savior and our Savior. For as soon as the voice of thy salutation sounded in mine ears, the babe leaped in my womb for joy. Okay. Now, I want you to go to verse 56. And Mary abode with Elizabeth, about 3 months, and returned to her own house. Now Elizabeth's full term came that she should be delivered, and she brought forth a son. And her neighbors and her cousins heard how the Lord had showed great mercy upon her, and they rejoiced with her. That was John the Baptist. Now, let me continue reading. And it came to pass that on the 8th day they came to circumcise the child, and they called him Zacharias, after the name of his father. Well, that didn't set too well. And his mother answered and said, not so, but he shall be called John. And they said unto her, there is none of thy kindred that is called by this name. Man, I tell you what, some of them names like that is no wonder. And they made signs to his father, and how he would have him called. And he asked for a writing table. Remember, he was still dumb. And wrote, saying, his name is John. And they marveled all. And his mouth was opened immediately, and his tongue loosed, and he spake and praised God. Okay. Can you imagine God putting, I don't want to use that as a term spell, but I'm going to have to put a spell on him where he couldn't speak.
Sign of wonders.
The Jews, what? Require a sign. The Greeks seeketh after wisdom in 1 Corinthians 1:22. So, is that not something? Wow. So, again, I believe John the Baptist was conceived on the 21st of the year, born the 26th. During the first month, Christ being born on the 29th of September, the 15th day of Tishri, which is the day of the Feast of Tabernacles. And Jesus Christ came down here and he tabernacled with his people. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 7, please. We're going to talk about some of the things that we just spoke of. Isaiah chapter 7. I'm going to be going to verse 14. Therefore the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin, that's Mary, shall, no, where am I at? I left the word off, so let me, no, I'm in the wrong, okay. Yes. Therefore the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. Ooh, what does that mean? God with us? That's what I thought. God with us, the Son of God, had come to dwell on this earth with and tabernacle with his people on this earth. Who did he come to? He come to the Jews. He didn't come to the likes of you and me. This is a mystery period we're living in. Later on, it was revealed to the Apostle Paul. And I'm going to read John 1:14 again. You don't have to go there, okay? And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. And we beheld his glory. The glory is of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. Now, the word in Hebrew for dwelt is, Joe knows it really well, sukkah. There's a feast there, and it's called the Feast of Tabernacles, and it's called the Feast of Sukkot. Is that the way you pronounce it? Sukkot. It's a festival of rejoicing and celebration. Joe's our Jewish expert in here, okay? Now, why was there no room? Why did they have to go to a barn or whatever? Why was there no room in the inn? Remember, there were 2 million people there. Bethlehem, how far is it from Jerusalem? Approximately 5 or 6 miles. I mean, we're getting to there.
That's why, because everybody's going back to their own house.
Not yet. Not yet. Bethlehem about 5 or 6 miles from Jerusalem. Now, all the men, you got to understand, all the men had come to attend the Festival of Tabernacles. Remember, born on the Tishra 15, the first day of the Feast of Tabernacles. And we'll get to that shortly. Now, every room for miles and miles around would have been already taken by all those pilgrims, or people who were travelers, we call them today, not pilgrims. Now, but all that Joseph and Mary could find was what? A stable. Anywhere to have a child. Now, why? Why would they be there at this time of year? It wouldn't be cold. If it was over in December, it would be cold. And then, how many shepherds are going to be out in the freezing rain and so forth? No, it's not cold here at this time period. Okay, so let's go to chapter 2 of Luke. Luke chapter 2. You'll find out why this festival of tabernacles is the festival of ingathering. It's the last it's the last ingathering of the year, where you sold your crops, traded, or whatever you had to do, and you had monies. Okay, Luke chapter 2. We'll start in verse 1. And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. And this taxing was first made when Cyrenius was governor of Syria. And all went to be taxed, everyone into his own city. And Joseph also went up from Galilee out of the city of Nazareth into Judea, unto the city of David, which is Jerusalem, called Bethlehem, Jerusalem, Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David, to be taxed. That's why they were there. To be taxed with Mary and his espoused wife, being great with child. And so it was that while they were there, the days were accomplished that she should be delivered. So, yes, they were there. People had monies. Joseph undoubtedly had money to pay his taxes, and it was going to be paid in Jerusalem. That's what it is. You had shepherds out in the fields tending to their crops and so forth. Now, like I said, it wasn't cold. Now, as I mentioned, it's called a Feast of Ingathering. It's got a lot of different names. Feast of Booths, Feast of Tabernacles, Feast of Ingathering, same one. Festival of Booths. Now, here's the big deal. It's also the only feast in the whole Bible that's 8 days long. Jesus Christ was born the first day of that. 8 days later, he was circumcised. So why would the feast be 8 days? When I told you any other time period other than him being conceived on the 25th wouldn't have fit this date of his birth, because the festival would have been off. It has to be this way. It can't be any other if he was born on the 15th day of Tabernacles. So he could be born on the first day and circumcised on the 8th day. That is the only way it could have happened. Now, based upon the scripture, okay? 8th day. Let's look at Luke chapter 2, verse 21. Verse 21, and when 8 days, we just talked about that, were accomplished for the circumcising of the child, his name was called Jesus, which was so named of the angel before he was conceived on the womb. And we've already read in Luke chapter 1. Yep, he said that's what it's going to be. Absolutely. Now, I'm not going to go into all these festivals, but now this is where we're going to go and talk just a little bit about it. In 320 AD, Pope Julius I specified the 25th of December as the official date of the birth of Christ. A Catholic priest. As you can see, I have nothing for Catholics. And I don't mind telling you that. I just don't. In 320 AD, that's what it took place. And what about in 325 AD? Something else happened. Constantine the Great, the first so-called Christian Roman emperor, introduced Christmas as an immovable feast day on the 25th of December. That's the winter solstice. Worshippers. He also, this is Constantine, introduced Sunday as a holy day in a new 7-day week. The calendar's changed. That's why we have no calendars on the face of the earth. There's no record of anything that's correct. No calendar is correct. Even the Jewish calendar that they use is not correct. It's crazy. Now, in 354 AD, another bishop, Liberius of Rome, of course Catholic, officially ordered now his members to celebrate the birth of Christ or Jesus on the 25th of December. And mandatory. It was mandatory. So that's just some of the things that transpired, okay? And I'm skipping about a third of what I'm going to do. But out of all of this, I want you to see the course of Abiah. It was in Luke. The 8th course. When it took place, he run home probably within 1 day after he was dismissed from his course. Got his wife pregnant. And then 6 months later, Jesus Christ was conceived. Then Jesus Christ was born on 15 Tishri, which is our September the 29th. The first day of the Feast of Tabernacles. John the Baptist was what? Conceived on the 21st of June, and he was born on March the 26th, which is probably, I'm going to say probably, these two dates are not set in stone. They're right there at it. Probably the first day of unleavened bread. And it, like I say, you cannot have another date if you want to come up with some other date here that would fit those feast days at all. Specifically, I like the one, the 15th, the 29th of September, when God came, sent his son in flesh to tabernacle down here. And I absolutely believe the second coming, which we're not going to be involved in, we're going out at the rapture, the second coming is going to be on the 15th day of Tishri. That's what I absolutely believe. Now, let me leave you with one thought. A lot of people think, absolutely think, and I've run across so many, that they're saved, just like that guy last night, or guys last night. They think they were when he said, oh, the first time I got saved. Okay. That just tore me up. But a lot of people out here, they're working themselves to death in their churches, which is a good thing. But they think that that good is going to help them get to heaven. It's not going to help them one iota. You know, we're all created unto good works once you're saved. Any and everything you've ever done in your past is forgotten by God the moment you trust Christ as your Lord and Savior. It's a done deal. So what should you do? Do you think you're saved, or do you know for a certainty that you're saved? If you don't absolutely know for a certainty, you're probably lost. I know for a certainty. I got saved in April of 1986. When was your moment? When was your day? You don't have to know the exact day, but I'm going to tell you something. It is the most significant day of your life. It's more important than a child being born. It's more important than your wedding anniversary. It's between you and God. Your spouse, your children can't help you get to heaven. It's up to you. And what have you got to do? Nothing. Just believe something. Trust. Trust that Christ died for all of your sins, was buried, and resurrected from the dead for your justification. And that's what we have for you. That's what it is. If